All right, kind of a spontaneous video for you guys early this morning. It's like 4:40 a.m. And I've made countless videos about this, and some people may agree with me, others may disagree with me, right? Because it's one of those wishy-washy type of things. In the request of still pursuing Google into bringing RCS messaging to Google Voice. And I know that not a lot of people use the service, but there are people out there who do use the service because it's a great way to have an all-in-one type where you have one number and it can be across multiple multiple devices. Excuse me, I'm like under the weather. The Google Voice can be used on an Android smartphone. It could be used on an iPhone. It could be used on a tablet. It can be used on PC. It could be used on multiple platforms. And I see why other Google Voice users are requesting this, right? Because you're messaging your friends from Google Voice and they're receiving it as an olden day SMS, which, a lot of us thought the idea for RCS was to replace the quote unquote archaic SMS or short messaging service. So, Google being in the forefront of RCS and even going as far as pushing its competitor to adopt RCS, we had a light at the end of the tunnel for RCS messaging and Google Voice. We figured, Google Voice is a Google service, so we figured it was eventually going to come. But the downside to Google Voice is that a lot of people feel it's a legacy service. It's a nearly abandoned project. It feels like no one's really maintaining it, and like if they do implement something, it's like months on months, if not years, before this implementation comes into Google Voice. But Google needs to understand that Google Voice is a great service. It's like Google's always trying to have these great services, right? Allo and Duo and Hangouts, etc. And they never realized that Google Voice was as good as a lot of us claim it to be. I have Google Fi phone service, so I have a main phone line. I have a couple of other phones that have data-only SIMs installed on those phones. And the one communication app that I use the most is Google Voice. That's who I text everybody from. That's who I make phone calls, to and get phone calls from everyone on, because all the phones will ring, and it doesn't matter what phone I have in my pocket, in my hand. If you're calling my number, it's ringing Google Voice, so I can pick up. I can talk. I know it's meant to be a VoIP phone service. I get that. But it still shouldn't stop them from implementing RCS messaging. So this is just another video, a call to Google to bring RCS messaging to Google Voice. That's all us Google Voice users want. Give us RCS messaging, so that way messaging to other people that use RCS, whether on iPhone or Android, and it's just, the consistency across the board is there.